Hello, welcome to Life Talk for November 5th, 2019. I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. Renee's back this week.
I'm here.
Yes.
And
Hi.
as is my daughter, Sheila.
Hey,
This is election day, so I don't know what kind of things are out on in your state on the ballots, but there's some important things on the ballot here in Texas, so
Yes.
everybody
Get
needs
out
to get
there
out
and
there.
vote.
And
Get out there and vote.
during early voting, I think the city of Denton County, which is where we are, only had like 1% early voting,
Yeah.
and so
Very
it's-
low.
Yeah, well, that's the way it always
Well,
is.
yeah, with
And,
low.
and that's why a very, very small group of people in America make all the decisions.
yeah.
And people complain about that,
Because they don't get out there and vote.
but if you don't vote, then that's what happens.
That's right.
A very small group of people make all the decisions.
Yeah.
We should have had Ernie wear like a red tie or something.
Oh,
for
that's right. We
election
forgot to
day.
mention Ernie. Ernie's here today,
He's with us.
and there he is. He looks pretty much the same as he looks every week. It's kind of weird. I guess that's because he's plastic. Maybe that has something to do with
I
it.
think we should get a real frill-necked lizard.
Oh yeah, right. That's what we need amongst all our other among all our other animals around here.
Yeah.
Is a frilled-necked lizard. Anyway, later in the show, after robots, I want to be talking about the direction that Life Dynamics is going and why we're going in those directions. We've talked about this a lot, and we'll talk about it a lot more in the future.
Right.
But I think it's important for people to understand that. But before that, you guys have some stuff you want to introduce.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. I am wanting to bring an update to a state representative in Pennsylvania that mocked, harassed, and doxxed 3 teens and their mother. Well, one of them was a friend. It was her 2 daughters. But it was back in April or early May where he got out of his vehicle, started his cell phone to videotape these women. And we actually have video of it. But he, in this video, he wanted to see how many people recognized these teens and this mother so they could send harassment people to their house to harass.
Well, it wasn't just any teens and mothers. It was pro-life teenager and
That's right.
mothers who were outside
That's right.
abortion clinics trying to
Right.
get
Yeah.
women not to murder their children.
Right. And so he actually lives right by this Planned Parenthood. And so he has lived there for about 15 years. And he even does escorting services, did it for 7 years. And so he is very, very much for Planned Parenthood.
You know, anyway, we've got a video.
And we have a video, yeah.
Right. Watch the video real
Yeah.
quickly.
Hi everyone, Representative Brian Sims here, and I am outside the Planned Parenthood at southeastern Pennsylvania. Oh no, they're leaving now. What we've got here is a bunch of protesters, a bunch of pseudo-Christian protesters who've been out here shaming young girls for being here. And so here's the deal, I've got $100 to anybody who will identify any of these 3.
So we're
that I'm going to
actually here
donate to
just
Planned
praying for the
Parenthood.
babies.
I'm going to donate to Planned Parenthood.
And
So
we
look,
believe that
a
women
bunch of
deserve
white
more.
people standing out in front of a Planned Parenthood,
deserve more.
shaming
I'm
people.
really
There's nothing
sorry.
Christian about what you're doing.
I'm pretty
Nothing
far from
Christian
white.
at all about what you're doing. Hi, nothing Christian or loving or godly about what you're doing. So I've got $100 to anybody who will identify this. $100. See if you got some friends out here. $100. It'd be easier if you just give me your name and your address.
Rich,
Come on.
Rich Bohinski,
Rich, where you from?
Lansdowne.
Rich, what makes you think that it's your job to tell women what's right for their bodies? And the truth is, I'm not really asking because I don't care. Shame on you.
Disgrace. That's all he is.
The reason I'm laughing is because he says these white women. Well, you're a white guy
And
trying to
he's gonna
keep
decide-
these teenagers from saving babies.
And this scumbag is going to decide who's a Christian and who's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's saying that they're trying to save these babies and pray for them, and they're not Christian. But we have another video of a woman actually praying.
Now, that one boy gave his name and where he lived. I didn't see $100 change hands.
No, but you know what though? In an article that I read, he made quite a bit of money. I think over $1,700 to Planned Parenthood for this.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Anyway, there's more to this video.
there is more to it.
Planned Parenthood of southeastern Pennsylvania. They have to deal with people like this every single day. They deal with people out here every single day telling others what's right for their bodies. But we're not going to let them get away with it. Absolutely not. No, ma'am. Don't hide. Don't hide. You're publicly protesting women coming to a Planned Parenthood. It's something they have a right to do. Don't hide from it. Don't hide from it. Have the courage of your broken convictions if this is what you're going to do. Everyone, this is what they deserve and this is what they need. Every single time any of us walk by something like this, we're letting them win. We're letting them think that they are right, and we know better. These people have no business telling anybody else what's right for their body. They have no business telling people of color what they think about what they do with their families, with their own family planning. This is disgusting. This isn't Christianity. This isn't love. This isn't support. This isn't kindness. This is the hiding, shameful face of those that judge at Planned Parenthood, and it's disgusting. Planned Parenthood.
Correction, I thought that was the mother. That's actually somebody totally different. But who is the mature person here? You know, he is supposed to be representing Pennsylvania, and
How does a filthy scumbag coward like that
yeah,
stay in the state legislature?
I don't know. It's unreal.
And talk about the hypocrisy. He says judging. He's the one that's judging and bullying. These women are trying to save these babies while he's.
You know what I find? Well, first off, it's women of color. They're not out there just trying to save babies of black women. They're trying to save all the babies. He's the racist in this
Yeah,
deal.
right. Well, bottom line is he tried to apologize 6 months later, and the mother and the teens had already forgiven him for this, obviously, but he, in his, well, here we go. Here's another video of him apologizing, but it's not sincere. He says that he's for the women of Pennsylvania, and he's going to stand up for them, and it's their body, their choice, that...
Let me just say, if there had been, instead of a whole bunch of women and teenage girls out there, a bunch of adult males.
Yeah.
200
Bikers.
Bikers. If a bunch of bikers for life had been out there,
Yeah.
this sniveling coward would not have said a word to him.
Yeah.
And you know what it reminds me of is several years ago, I was watching a report on one of the news stations about people, I think it was in Boston, these animal rights activists, that were going up to women on the streets and throwing blue paint if they were wearing a fur coat or a fur jacket.
That's a big protest that PETA does.
Yeah, they go up and throw blue paint on this woman's coat. I never saw one of them throw blue paint on a leather jacket that a biker was wearing.
No.
Never saw that.
Right. No.
It was only women they picked on.
Yeah, they didn't want to be killed.
That's what this sniveling coward is doing.
Right.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
this guy is doing.
Yeah, pick on somebody that can't take up for themselves.
Can't
or
fight back.
Can't fight back, yeah.
Right. If they can fight back,
Yeah.
he's not bothering them. I
No.
promise you
Yeah.
that's true.
Yep. Yep. So another story in Pennsylvania, and this is just as disgusting. And she's actually Windy Olman. She is a Democratic representative that called a miscarriage some mess on a napkin. What it was referring to is House Bill 1890, where it would require abortion clinics and healthcare facilities to bury or cremate unborn children instead of just tossing them into the medical waste or whatever.
Into the dumpster.
Into the dumpster. And the women there are so disgusted, and they're so hurt, and because they have had miscarriages, or the women that did abort that have repented. And this isn't just some mess on a napkin. This is children that.
Well, first off, and we've said this a million times, for these animals on the pro-choice side, and that's what they are, to claim that they care about women, and then would come along and say that a woman who suffered a miscarriage. Now, my wife had miscarriages,
Right.
several of them,
Yes.
as we know, as we talked about before. To suggest then, because what you're saying is, oh, just get over it. That's just a bunch of mess on a
Right,
napkin,
right.
right? That's no big deal. Don't worry about it. To suggest that and then say, oh, but I'm pro-woman. I support women.
Yeah.
It's just the biggest, most outrageous, ball-faced lie
Right.
anybody can
That's
tell.
right.
Well, the reason she said that is because she can't admit, that
Right.
they're human beings. If she, if a woman, if she's like, oh, yes, women should be upset over miscarriages, they have a right to be, then that's acknowledging that, yes, is a living
Right.
human being
That's
who
right.
you lost.
Right.
Instead, she's like, oh, it's just some mess, because that can justify her stance on
That's
abortion.
right. And she knows that she messed up really bad on this one. And she's even apologizing, saying, I had a family member that's had a miscarriage, and, it's not just a mess, and I'm really sorry. And
Only after she got caught.
too
Yeah.
late.
Only after
Yeah.
she's thinking about her reelection.
Too little,
Right.
too late. What made you have this mindset to start with?
Right.
That's what the issue here is.
So-called pro-woman.
Pro-woman, yeah, these are very pro-woman people, and as we see by these two examples. I don't know why both of these came from Pennsylvania, but it's not limited to Pennsylvania.
No,
believe me.
it's not.
It's right here in Texas.
Yeah.
We see it every place.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you had a couple of stories you wanted to get to there, Sheila.
Yep. Just showing just the idiocy of these people. There was a Spanish teacher in North Carolina who was suspended after she made her class be separated on the religious beliefs. So she had her class separate based on what they believed, what their religion was, and then she went even further, asking them if they supported abortion rights or not. She told the class that if they said anything to anybody about this, that she would not recommend them for a job or an even entrance to college.
That's
You say she's just been suspended? She hadn't been fired?
Yeah, she's been suspended, I believe, with pay.
Oh, well, they're
Yeah.
really coming down on her, aren't they?
yeah, real
Now,
hard.
What I don't understand, every time one of these things happens, if it's somebody from the godless left that does it, like this, I won't use the name I would prefer to call her, but like this person, if they're from the godless left and they get caught and they can't get out of it, then a simple, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, is sufficient, and they go on. If she had done this, if she was a conservative, Republican, pro-lifer who did exactly the same thing and said, I'm going to separate the non-believers from the good kids over here that believe in God and are pro-life, she would be fired that day.
She
There
would have
wouldn't be
been fired
anything to talk about. She's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, because it's happened. It's
Right.
happened in the past.
Right.
Yeah, we've had teachers on here
Yep.
on Live Talk before
right.
on previous episodes that were fired over talking about pro-life stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
And then I have one more. There are a lot of abortion and pro-life bills that are going in and out of state courts. Well, in Oklahoma, the Supreme Court has putting a 2015 abortion law on hold. The bill, the House Bill 1721, titled the Oklahoma Unborn Child Protection from Dismemberment Abortion Act, is being upheld.
Held up.
Yeah, held up, not upheld, but held up in appeals court, trying to so that abortion.
So they're enjoining it to keep it
Yeah.
from going into effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so that abortionists can continue the dilation and method.
So it's okay to keep ripping the babies apart inside the mother's womb.
Right. Yeah.
You know, in Oklahoma.
The Tulsa Women's Reproductive Clinic challenged the law, saying that, this is, this would hurt women, blah, blah, blah.
Well, also in this article, they do recognize that they want to I guess, give the baby a shot to actually kill the baby in the womb before they remove the pieces.
Start ripping it apart.
Before they start ripping
Yeah.
the baby apart, because they recognize that the baby is alive and well inside the mother's womb, and it must be a little bit painful to be ripped apart here.
Well, it says
think?
that the state had argued that the bill did not prevent the procedure, but required that the abortionist terminate the life of the unborn human being
Yeah.
beforehand.
yeah.
So the baby's still being killed with this bill. If it were to pass, the baby's still being killed.
Yeah.
It's just being killed before it can be ripped apart.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
they're both disgusting. They're both no.
So it's a
there's
quick
no
death
option.
or a slow one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Basically what it amounts
Yeah.
to.
Exactly.
Still
And the
painful.
abortionists want to be able to keep doing the, slow death because it's not enough to kill the baby. They want to torture the baby because they hate babies.
They do. And
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous, but it's a fact.
No,
Yeah.
they do. We had the abortionist Finkel.
Right.
Was it Finkel that said that he hated babies?
Yeah.
I don't
Ron
understand.
Finkel?
I don't understand how people can hate babies. What have babies done to them?
they interfere with their lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what they've done.
Yeah.
And they bring them lots of money.
Just by existing. Yeah, and well, you got to remember, for the abortion industry, dead babies are they're very profitable.
Yes.
Live babies don't do you any good.
Right.
And you know, that's one thing I used to say on Life Talk years ago, even when Sheila was little, and obviously a long time before she was here on the show. But what you had to understand, and one reason they hate adoption so much, is when we adopted Sheila, just using her as a personal example here, when we adopted Sheila, obviously, she meant the world to us, and still does, obviously. That this was something we had dreamed about and worked for and spent money on and done everything in the world to get. I know,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it doesn't always look like that, that we are all that excited about it, but we were.
Oh, please.
So she represented the world to us. But what she meant to Planned Parenthood was about $350 lost profit.
Right. Well, and not just that, but they could have taken her organs.
Yeah, and
anything
made-
in her body.
Right.
For
Yeah.
profit as well. So
You know, heart $50, brain $250.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
A dead baby is
But again, that's what you have to understand here. Always keep this in mind, is what do the unborn children mean to each side? To us, it meant the world.
Right.
To them, it meant $350. And in a way, that is their world.
Yeah.
That's what they worship, is that $350.
That's right.
We want that money.
Right.
That baby's got to go.
And it shows their evil hearts, the no respect for life that has permeated our culture.
Yep.
It's just,
You know what's interesting? You mentioned that, and it just flashed on me here. Years ago, there was a death penalty case in the Supreme Court, and don't get me wrong, I'm not championing the death penalty. Everybody here knows I'm strongly opposed to the death penalty. Anyway, there was a death penalty case that had made its way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld it. But in the dissenting opinion, the Supreme Court justice who wrote the dissenting opinion said that support for legalized death penalty, for the death penalty being legal, can do nothing other than lower our respect for human life. And of course, I would agree with that, and I think a lot of people, and particularly a lot of people in the pro-life movement, also agree with that. But the interesting thing about that is the Supreme Court justice who wrote that, less than a year later, was the majority opinion in Roe versus Wade. This was Harry Blackmun that said that originally.
Yep.
That legalizing the death penalty lowers our respect for human life, but killing unborn children by the billions or millions doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
That's just a choice. It doesn't diminish our respect for human life. That's why I've said, and I know even some pro-lifers probably think it's extreme for me to say this, Harry Blackmun is as evil a man as ever lived on this earth. Harry Blackmun was no less evil, no more evil. It is more evil than Adolf Hitler. This guy has killed more children with less justification than Adolf Hitler thought he had to kill Jews and Slavs and people he disagreed with or didn't like or saw had no value. Harry Blackmun is worse than him.
well, and people say, oh, yes, the abortion issue is important, blah, blah, blah. But there are other issues too. Well, this is modern day Holocaust.
Right.
This goes further than any other killing that has ever happened in the history of mankind.
Right.
More people have died because of abortions than anything else.
Yep.
And, we can't, it's not something that you can just sweep aside. Like you said, abortion touches every issue. It's connected with every issue.
That's right. And if you don't have that respect for human life, you're not going to have respect for anything else. So that's
Yeah. Well, as far as the numbers go, think about this. Right now, the abortion rate in America is 2,500 or between 2,500 and 3,000 a day. Babies are being butchered.
That's medical.
That's the
surgical. Yeah.
surgical.
I mean surgical,
Right.
yeah.
I want you to imagine, people say there's other issues that we should be concerned about. And there are other issues. But to put them on the same plane with that is preposterous. Let's say that you had a jetliner that has 200 people on it, and it crashed. That would be lead story on the evening news tonight. What if 10 of them crashed today and 10 of them crash tomorrow, and 10 of them crash the next day.
They would be figuring out what was going on.
That
with
would
these
still,
planes.
nobody would be saying, well, let's don't get too jacked up about that. There are other issues we need to be concerned about than that.
Yeah.
And 2,000 a day, if 10 jets went down with 200 people on them each, would still not be as many as abortions that are being done. And yet, there are other issues we need to be concerned about. Really? There are other issues other than the wholesale slaughter of 2,500 to 3,000 helpless human beings every day. You think there are other issues. If it were you, that's not what you would think.
If it was 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I mean, a big thing right now is human sex trafficking. Well, don't tell me that abortion doesn't play a big role in human sex
Huge
trafficking.
role. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge role.
We don't even know the extent it
Right.
plays, but
But we do know that Planned Parenthood does protect those pimps.
Predators.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, we do know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it, go to childpredator.com.
that's right.
And see this research that we did on it.
That's right.
Anyway, let's take a chance. Let's take a time out for robots, and when we come back, I want to talk about some things we've kind of touched on before.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as robots. This is how they think.
You people talk about adoption, but there are thousands of older children in the foster care system that are not getting adopted right now. And even newborns stand little chance of being adopted unless they are white and healthy.
First off, there are several national organizations dedicated to the adoption of children who are not white and not healthy. In fact, there are waiting lists of parents who are willing to adopt minority and mixed race babies, as well as those with even the most severe physical challenges. The truth is, the chances of any newborn baby not being adopted are almost zero. As for the foster care issue, since the children in that system are already born, that problem has nothing to do with abortion. It is two entirely separate groups of children. Of course, abortion apologists will tell you that if newborns were not available, families would be more likely to adopt these older children. In other words, the pro-choice position is that we should force people to take the children society needs them to adopt by brutally slaughtering the children they want to adopt. Now, if the abortion lobby really expects us to believe that they are only killing babies no one wants, I suggest that we create a national registry of people who want to adopt a baby. It would be open to any adult who can meet reasonable standards for becoming an adoptive parent, and they could agree to adopt one baby or as many as they can reasonably care for. Then, any woman who wants an abortion could go to the registry, and if no one was available to adopt her baby, she would be given documentation that would allow her to hire an abortionist. But if there was someone willing and qualified to adopt her baby, it would not be legal to have the child killed. Of course, the abortion industry is never going to accept this deal because they know it would put them out of business overnight. They are fully aware that there is no such thing as an unwanted baby and that every helpless child they butcher is wanted by someone. We're back. We've talked here recently about some kind of new directions that Life Dynamics is going in. We're still going to be on the lookout, and we are working on some undercover stuff right now, as y'all know. And Sheila doesn't know all the details of it, but you do.
I do.
And
I know some of the details.
you know some of it. Yeah. We share information around here on a need-to-know basis, right? And Sheila doesn't need to know, contrary to what she tells us.
Sorry, Sheila.
Yeah,
You
I
don't need
am.
to know everything that goes on.
I am nosy, but I can keep a secret.
Yeah, right. Oh, there's an old saying in undercover work: 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Yeah.
So we don't trust you to keep secrets. That's the point. But anyway, we're going to continue to do that sort of thing when the opportunities present themselves.
Yes.
But we're going to start focusing on basically 2 groups. One are the young people that are coming into the pro-life movement, and the other are the African American community.
Right.
And I want to reaffirm that to people today, and also I don't think we've done a good job, and we're going to talk about this a lot on future shows, but we haven't done a good job really of explaining to people why this is so important. We've talked to them about that this is what we're doing and this is important, but why is the big issue here. As for the young people, I continue to see many, many examples of these younger pro-lifers and even sometimes young pro-life leadership that we've got in this country. I don't think that a lot of these people even could give you a legitimate definition of pro-life.
No.
They have if you ask most of them, well, why are you pro-life? Well, abortion is wrong. That's not a pro-life position.
No.
Hillary Clinton would tell you abortion's wrong. I've heard her say that.
It's like, Satan believes, in God too. It's not just enough to believe.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And so, they'll say, oh, I believe abortion's wrong and I'd never have an abortion, but I wouldn't tell somebody else they couldn't have one. So I wouldn't kill my baby, but if somebody else wants to kill their baby, that's their business.
Or the exceptions, I believe,
Right.
abortion's wrong except in cases of rape or the mother's life, blah, blah, blah.
Incest or, or, I look bad in a bathing suit this summer or whatever. But anyway, it's, we've got to do, when I see these people, and I saw not long ago, I think I came in and told y'all about it because I was so outraged about it. I saw a representative of a national pro-life organization, a young, probably looked like she was 25 or so, young woman, who was on a national television show defending the pro-life position, and it was clear this girl knew nothing.
She didn't know what she was talking about.
She didn't understand the basic tenets of the pro-life position, and she certainly didn't know how to defend it. And we've got to do, and the fault for this doesn't lie with these young people. It lies with the older generation of pro-lifers like me. We have not done a good job of educating them.
Well, it's the blind leading the blind. These national organizations that have the spotlight that obviously don't know the pro-life position and, how to fight against abortion are teaching these younger people, and they're being mistaught. They're being misled. And so if you think about the future, what's going to happen? The pro-aborts are going to run all over us.
They already are. They're already doing it. So that's why we think it's so crucial that I know before I croak, before I check out, and I'm 71 years old. Before I go, I don't want to leave behind a legacy in which people say, you guys didn't do a very good job of handing the baton off to the next generation. You handed the baton off to people who couldn't run. And, we can't allow that to happen. And we've had some discussions with other older pro-life leaders in the country, and everybody's recognizing this problem.
Right.
Everybody is seeing the exact same thing that we're seeing. We had a discussion here just last week or so with Father Frank about this very thing at Preach for Life.
Yeah.
And he and Janet agreed they're seeing the exact same thing.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And
so that's why it's so important for us to get out there at universities or colleges, or have booths set up at different places to hand out literature.
well, we've got to do a better job of educating these kids. How we do it,
Right.
that's what's got to happen.
Well, and it's not just the youth; it's new people into the pro-life movement too.
Right. It's new older people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just, I think one of the problems with this, and I've said this before, is we assume, because I've been doing this, 35 years or so, we assume everybody knows everything we know.
No.
And they don't.
No. Yeah.
And so, you kind of get this feeling that I'm going back here and teaching the basics. Everybody already knows this stuff. They don't know it.
Well, yeah. I mean, just like basketball, my son's in basketball. They still go over the basics
Every year.
daily.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was fixing to bring up the issue of sports. If you're a kid, a little boy, and you start out playing pee-wee football, and then you go into, they teach you the basics. Here are the basic parts of playing football.
Right.
And then let's say you get to play in junior high school.
Right.
The coaches start with the basics again.
Yeah.
You already know them. You've heard them 1,000 times, but they start with them.
Yeah.
And this keeps on going.
Yeah. And it needs to.
And I guarantee you, if you're playing for University of Alabama, Nick Saban goes over the basics
Right.
constantly. and he makes sure that all those players, and especially the new ones that come on board, they're going to go over the basics because that's how you win and that's how you lose.
Right.
And if those kids are at Alabama and they get drafted by the Cowboys or whoever, they go over the basics, and they don't assume that everybody knows everything.
Right.
And one problem is that you have pro-life leaders who don't even know the basics,
Right.
who are, like I said, giving bad information.
Right. So anyway, we're really taking this on as a cause. But the other thing is, and we just went to this Black Leadership Summit in
DC.
D.C. All three of us went, and Sarah. And it was really encouraging because our message, the message of Maafa 21, has permeated
Yeah.
the Black community.
Right. It
They
has.
now recognize that abortion was legalized as an instrument of Black
Genocide.
Black genocide. They now know that.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe they always knew it. So when we got back, I called Johnny Hunter and some others in the Black community, and I asked them, I told them what we had seen there. And I said, now 10 years ago, would those same people have known that? And all of them said no.
No.
They would not have known that. So we know our message is getting
Right.
out there. And we're going to start ratcheting it up. We've
Right.
got some plans here for ratcheting up the thing in the Black community. And what people need to understand about this is, and I'll still say this, I've said it many times before and I'll say it again. The key to ending abortion is in the Black community. If we get them on board, and by the way, all the polling shows that Blacks poll more pro-life than whites. And yet the pro-life movement has historically been overwhelmingly, almost exclusively white. And so we know we have tremendous possibilities there to, let's just say, for example, another marketing environment. Let's say that Ford Motor Company came out here and did research and found out that there was a group of potential car buyers out there who they polled and said that they think Fords are the best cars on the road, but they don't buy Fords. Ford would go after that market and say, we've got a built-in advantage there. They don't buy our product for whatever reason,
Right.
but they think it's the best product on the road.
Right.
We would go out there and get those
Right.
if we were Ford.
Well, and think about it also, in the Black community, you have the church also, and the church needs to step up and stop abortion.
Well, yeah.
That's a different story.
What we're
yeah.
seeing in the Black community is the same thing we see in the white community.
Yeah.
The churches are
They're
missing
not-
in action.
Yeah, but if we can, if they can put pressure on churches, then maybe
Churches are AWOL.
And we're doing a campaign, reaching.
We've got some plans.
Yeah.
We're fixing to do one that I think is going to get a lot of
Right.
attention. It's going to rub a lot of fur the wrong way.
Yeah, it's a good
But
project.
but it's got to, and,
Yeah.
and people will be seeing that here before too long.
Yep.
And there's a political aspect to this too. Understand this. Nationally, most elections now are so close, they're won by 2 or 3% of the vote, sometimes less than that. And certainly 99% of elections are won by less than 7 or 8% of the vote. The Black community votes Democrat about 90% of the time. And I think that's one thing that terrifies them about Trump, because I think they know that he's making inroads in the Black community.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if 13% of the voters in this country are Black, or 13% of the population is Black, that's for sure. If 13% of the voters are Black, and most elections are won by 2 or 3, 4% of the vote,
We just need to.
that means if you just go into the Black community and you peel off, if you're the Republicans and you go into the Black community and you peel off just 10 or 20% of the Black vote, the Democrats can't win another election.
That's right.
Yep.
And they know it, and it
Right, it scares them to death.
scares them. Yeah.
And that's entirely doable,
Right.
if you focus on that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't see the Republicans doing that. Maybe Trump is, but he's kind of the outlier among Republicans in doing that. But anyway, and our job is not to proselytize or to push the Republican Party. I don't care about political parties. I care about the pro-life issue. And what I know is if we start making an impact in the Black community and we get these people to say, no, we can't support, and we heard this constantly down at the Black Leadership Summit. We're getting off the plantation.
Right.
We can't stay on the plantation any
Right.
longer. We can't support abortion anymore.
Right.
They leave and don't vote for all these radical pro-aborts in the Democratic Party.
Right.
The Democratic Party cannot win any longer.
Yeah.
So we only have to make minimal impact, and I think we can make great impact,
Yeah.
and we already are. So
Yes, we are. Moffat 21 has gone far and wide, and it still has a lot of room to grow, and it will. And
it's still growing.
and
We
it's
still sell tons of
huge.
them by the
Yes.
case lot.
That's right.
So we're fixing to take it to a new level with this new
Yeah,
campaign that you were
it's
just talking about.
It'll be a good campaign.
It's going to take it to another level,
Yep.
and I think it's going to start really exploding again,
Yep.
like it was, and it still is. Anyway, that's all the time we have. Y'all have
That's it.
anything left?
Don't have anything else.
You're done?
We're done.
All right, till next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next week.